Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. It's Dr. Phil here, and I'm going to do a slightly longer version of the video. You might have seen me do two very short videos of a hyperlapse preparation of a fossil. Well, this is the fossil that I've been preparing, and I've done a little bit with it. I'll show you some of it. On this side, we've got nearly completed the, I'm going to call it the enantiomer of the fossil. And you can see a nice long leaf there. As far as I can tell, it's one of the Glossopteris variety. That is a Gondwanan plant that was around quite a long time ago, and I regularly get the name wrong. Don't worry about it too much. Basically, they use the varieties of this plant to date various parts of the strata. So it's a landmark fossil, basically. Important from that regard. You never know, you might find something that's relatively new. It's not outside the realm of possibility, but basically what I want to do here is I found this leaf. You can see it's absolutely perfectly preserved. Well, not perfectly, but pretty well. This part has come off, and I've had to reattach it. This part here was always disattached, and I've been able to reattach that. So what I will be doing this time around is trying to figure out the best way to actually keep that look going. There's also this tantalizing piece of black underneath here. So that's probably another Glossopteris leaf, or maybe a dinosaur. I don't think so. This is from the Carboniferous / Devonian period, and there were a distinct lack of dinosaurs. So if we find one, well, we'll be quite happy, because that will certainly add to the knowledge of the area. Now, what I'm noticing here is that there's a little bit of a crack here. Now, the risk is that this crack is not going to be contiguous with what we are expecting from the Glossopteris leaf. I'm pretty certain that's the case. I'm not going to lift that up because of that, because I want to keep this layer. I don't want to keep the layer underneath, even though that layer is looking very, very interesting. You can see that there's another crack here. I can probably go and poke that one off, because that's not going to cause any issues. There's also another crack here, and I could possibly poke that one off without causing very many issues. But best to, if you've got something that looks good, don't mess with it too much. I'll just show you some features of this particular fossil, which I find really cool, that maybe other people won't, but that's okay. If you have a look along here, you can see that that's a Glossopteris root, would you believe? So I'm not sure what's happened here. It might be something called a turbidite. I don't think so, but it might be. A turbidite is the results of a tsunami, basically, which means that everything is all jumbled together. And that would explain why the root of the plant is sitting around. But also, turbidites occur off the coast, so I'm not entirely certain what a terrestrial plant would be doing so far off the coast. But, you know, anything's possible. It's just how jumbled everything is that makes me wonder what's actually happened here. Now, I've got several different layers of strata here, and each of them has either got a Glossopteris leaf or possibly what we call an Orocacia bark. I think, I could be wrong, maybe it's dinosaur skin, who knows. You can see the same kind of thing happening here. So it's very interesting. Now what I want to do is I want to actually get a little bit more happening over here, and this is risky, because if I crack this leaf, then I'll be sad. I mean, it probably would reduce the value of the fossil as well. But I reckon I can get away with just a few. And what you can do is you can just put a little bit of downward pressure, and then it'll pop off naturally if you're very careful with it. So I'll just do a quick one. By the way, with any metal implement, this metal implement is getting a little bit hard. I'll just use a screw or something. Believe it or not, they work just fine. Very sad, very lacking in those particular implements. Doesn't matter. Let's just should have thought about this before I started, eh? What have I got else? No, there's a screwdriver outside. I'll just use that. I wonder if you're going to see that little interlude. Doesn't matter. Here we go. Just gentle pressure. There it goes. Pop. Too much pressure, of course, and the whole thing goes down into the rock that you're trying to view. So you've got to be a bit careful. I think I heard it pop. No, it didn't pop. It's been quite stubborn. That tells me that there's probably a root poking up. Just to give you some evidence of that, we see this one going in that direction. So that's probably why it's a little bit more difficult. And maybe that's your sign to not necessarily go too much further. But I will just try quickly to flick this off. I'll move this direction. There we go. That's getting very dicey. Got to be very cautious here, because if I do this wrong, I'll lose a leaf. But I think I can get this now. Come on. There it goes. No, I poked too far. I told you. It's all right. One little blemish won't be that bad. There we go. So as you can see, you can just sit there and gradually poke until you get that thing cleared up. That's all I wanted to show you for that bit. Similarly, over here we've got a similar story going on. We've got this area here, and seeing that is actually part of the layer. There is a part of a root which is coming from here, which is slowly moving upwards. Let's have a look at the other side of it and see if we can spot that root. So it's coming from there. There it is. There is that root right there. And you can actually see and you can also see part of the root right there. So you know that there's actually just this kind of slow movement of that root up. But as good as that is, actually that's a stem, not a root. Basically, the way you can tell the difference is a root kind of looks like a spine. The stem doesn't. And I can't exactly remember what they call it, but it's a Glossopteris, spinous or something like that. Vertebrous. You can Google that in your own time. So that's how you get that. Because I know what it is, I don't mind getting rid of it, because it's just partially occluding our leaf. So it's not that clear a structure, so I'm happy to get rid of it. But there's all these tiny little things that I'm trying to get rid of that you've got to be so cautious getting rid of them, because... Oh, by the way, I'm a hobbyist at this. I'm not a real conservator. So, if a real conservator comes on and says I'm doing everything wrong, well, believe them. Don't believe me. Just because I have a PhD doesn't mean that I know everything. Okay, so here we go. Just poking this guy. There we go. There we go. Now, what I will do is I will philosophically defend preparing and selling fossils, because this thing was actually, I found it in a construction site. It was going to waste. So I think, don't do that. I think that if you've got that kind of an option, then yes, by all means, take that, prepare it, sell it. And also with things like Cooperpedy, you'll have a look at the opals there and you'll realize that a lot of them are fossil material. And it seems counterintuitive to be encouraging the, destruction and sale of fossils, which are actually, important, when you turn them into little trinkets and they're not as important. That is true. But if it wasn't for that, then I don't think anyone would be mining out near Cooperpedy. They wouldn't be doing anything out there. So none of those fossils would get uncovered at all. So I think that there is an argument to say that, certain amount of exploitation of these materials is actually a good thing. Now, I'm not suggesting that we go out and ruin everything for the sake of what I say, but certain amounts of exploitation can be a force for good. So what I'm going to do now, I think that's about as much as I dare. I think, yeah, I'll try one more of these, but I'm getting very gun shy of going anywhere with the Glossopteris leaf that I've got there. And I'm pushing really hard, and I wanted, remember how I said gently? This ain't gentle. Yeah, I'll leave that. Because I've got that like that. All I need to really do is just, and I've done a test spot if you've seen the video, so I know that just ordinary PVC glue is going to work a treat on it. Just find the high point and put it there. You can spread it with a paddle pop stick. I don't like spreading it with a paintbrush because that's carbon. The black stuff is carbon. And because it's carbon, that means that it is soluble in water. And as a matter of fact, if you have a look at the paddle pop stick, you can see a little bit of carbon that's actually come off into it. And the whole idea here is to make sure that all of the glue settles in the crevices and actually preserves the crevices. Once again, conservators might have a different opinion on this, but I reckon this actually enhances the fossil rather than destroys it. And where I found it, it was going to get destroyed anyway. So I'm perfectly morally comfortable with what I'm doing here. I think I'm doing the right thing. I mean, discuss. Am I doing the right thing? I don't mind being proved wrong. That's what the comment section is for, isn't it? Abusing, I mean discussing. So yeah, comment if you think that what I'm doing here is the correct thing. Enjoy the videos. Like and subscribe if you like this kind of content. Usually it's bird and opals, and every now and then I'll smash open a fossil or two. I've got dozens in my garage, and if I find a fossil, I will try and conserve it somehow. Not all of them get this kind of treatment because not all of them are this good. At any rate, I think that's all I've got for you. I'll maybe show you some kind of video or short of this thing once it's all finished. You're going to like it if you like this kind of content. Okay, that's all I have for you now. Dr. Phil out.